Hey, what's going on, everybody? The number 8 Miami Hurricanes won 62-49 over Notre Dame to prove to 6-1 overall, 1-0 in the conference. This is the third straight year Miami has won their ACC conference opener, which is certainly a positive, although I think Notre Dame is going to really struggle this year. I think they certainly could be a bottom 3 team in the league based on not just what I saw today, but this season. And I also had a chance to watch Notre Dame in their last game against South Carolina, and I posted my thoughts on InsideTheU.com leading up to this game. I'll get more into that and some things that Coach Larrañaga said that stood out to me in his post-game press conference. But I want to start with Matthew Cleveland. If you followed the videos, Justin and I talked about it, things I wrote about leading up to the game in terms of, Matthew Cleveland being the player to watch for Miami in this one. And certainly I was critical of him. No rebounds the last 2 games. So I want to definitely, when criticizing players, I definitely want to make sure you give praise when they do well also. And Matthew Cleveland led this team in scoring 14 points, 5 of 7. So he was definitely more active in that sense in terms of shooting the ball. He only had 3 shots, 5 points last game. But I also want to speak about his activity level, which really stood out to me. The 5 rebounds, second most on the team behind Norchad Omier, who had 13 and 13 for Omier. But Matthew also had 4 steals, which was great to see as well. So defensively, he's gotten in passing lanes and really made things difficult for Notre Dame. Again, a team that's going to struggle, I think, offensively. But I thought it was good that Matthew just showed more activity in this one, did other things other than scoring. And Coach did mention this quite a bit about having players that do that. He did mention in terms of defense and rebounding that Matthew's one of the guys that they've got to get more from. And they also had a conversation leading up to this game. Matt said it happened on Thursday. And this is what happens with Coach. He does it with players. He's very upfront. He communicates with his players, going through ups and downs throughout a season, which I think is great. I think that's one of his strengths as a coach. And then you saw Matt really respond immediately, which was good. And I bet Matt knows that he's got to be better. So that was good today. That's an overall positive. There's always going to be moments about how you could always do better, but just a step in the right direction. And I think as a whole, defensively, that's what stood out to me as well with Miami today. Defense and rebounding, Coach Larrañaga mentioned those 2 categories being the key. Just simply put, he said, if we're going to get to where we want to get to this season, those 2 areas have to improve. And there's no question about it. I've talked about it every single game, particularly offensive rebounds that they've allowed. Defensively, it really stood out against Kentucky, but it has also stood out in other games as well. The FIU game with it being close, the 80 points, and there's been other defensive metrics where Miami's just not been very strong at. And then today, it's a little bit of both. I thought defensively they were better than they've been, but it's really hard because of the opponent. Again, Notre Dame is going to struggle this year. They've struggled offensively. They entered this game as the least efficient offensive team in the ACC. And watching them, they're really going to struggle. However, I thought it was good. Miami held Notre Dame scoreless. It's a 13-point win. They held them scoreless over the last 5 minutes. Notre Dame missed their final 10 shots. Those are positives down the stretch. And then Notre Dame only shoots 28%. It was the lowest field goal percent by a Miami opponent since 2016. So you've got to take that as a positive. Again, it's one of these things that's just another step in the right direction. Does it mean it's absolutely corrected and it's going to be fixed from now on? No, absolutely not. If I were to guess, I bet it's going to be mid-January. I think Coach is still going to be talking about defense as the ACC play really gets going with conference play and the importance of in those 2 areas with defense and rebounding. When Coach mentioned this about defense and rebounding, I asked a follow-up question about that, essentially just asking him what it's going to take to get them to be good in those areas. And I thought he gave great response, and he really kind of explained it a little bit about it being a mindset, particularly with rebounding. The ball's in the air, it's a 50-50 ball. Neither team has possession. It's about going and getting it. Really credited Norchad. Over his career, he said that's what Norchad does well. He goes after the ball. And I think that's going to be important for the rest of the players to really understand and really make it a priority. And I think that's the big thing. Scoring is the thing that's so much more fun. And this team has had success. They know what it takes to get to the next level. To win a conference title, this team knows that. And also to have a deep run in March. They know what it takes. So I would suspect it's going to be something that they're going to get better at. I think the next time they have a big opponent, maybe not, Duke and North Carolina are obviously going to be the 2 premier programs in the ACC. But I think I'm very curious to see how this team does against Colorado. It's a team that I've talked about before on the website because I've already watched Colorado in action. It's actually a team that I like. I think they're a good team, although they've lost a couple games here. I do think it's going to be a good test for Miami up in Brooklyn. They've got one more game against LIU, and then they're going to play Colorado. I think that game is going to be telling. Now, Colorado is not the offensive juggernaut that Kentucky is, but I like what Colorado can do because of their their 5 starters and their bench. They can score the ball in different ways. So I'll get more into Colorado. Talking more about this game. So it's certainly good to see Omier 13-13 on the floor, out of foul trouble. Miami's just a better team. The plus-minus numbers always reflect better for Miami with Omier on the court. Led the team last year in plus-minus. So certainly when he's on the floor, they're much better. And it was definitely good in the second half to see Nigel Pack get it going a little bit. Rough game against Kentucky. Slow start to start this one. 3 points at halftime. Then he finishes with 13. So 10 points in the second half. Just got a little bit of space, gets a shot up, and he's definitely a knockdown shooter, as we've seen. So that was good to see. Wooga only 9 points, 4 of 8 shooting. Coach said after the game they did run a lot of plays for him. It just didn't work out. And I think that's what happens sometimes with players. I don't think it's any concern or anything like that. He just wasn't as sharp as we've seen him in other games. But again, the efficiency was there, the shot attempts. I think things are fine. Just in college basketball, you kind of have dips sometimes. So I don't think it's anything to be worried about with Wooga or anything like that. I gave Matthew Cleveland a lot of credit earlier in the video. I also want to give a lot of credit to the bench today. Again, it's not going to be a unit that sees drastic improvement. They're just not going to get 20 minutes in a game unless somebody's really dealing with foul trouble or an injury happens. And Coach said, look, it's tough for bench players to get into a rhythm. You don't know when you're going to come into the game or come out. And I thought the bench did a good job today showing flashes, and this is what I've been wanting to see from them, that they impact a run. You saw it immediately. Miami's down 20-19. Keyshawn George in there. They have an inbounds play, quickly gets swung the ball. He knocks down a 3. And then also during this 12-0 run, which Miami takes the commanding lead, they have that kill shot, as you guys have heard me mention before, when a team gets 10 or more unanswered points in a row. Evan Mia, got to give credit to him for coming up with this stat. And Miami's done a good job of that all season long. And I asked Norchad about those runs. And he said, that every time they're in a huddle, they always talk about that. Defense generated to offense. And so that was good. And it kind of continued after that 3-point shot by Keyshawn. A defense to offense moment was A.J. Casey coming up and getting in the passing lane. A good moment for him, a good flash. Gets a steal, goes down, has a smaller opponent on him, and he finishes the layup in transition. So Christian Watson made a couple shots as he's kind of settling in, kind of being productive off the bench. So a good overall performance. Michael Nwako didn't do a whole lot when he was in there, so you're still looking to see all 4 guys going at the same time. But that's how it is with the bench sometimes. So just overall, I think it's something that they can build on. Again, defensively, I think that Miami can build on this. And then offensively, Miami does shoot it well. It's not the high-scoring output that you're seeing, and typically you would see more points from Miami, so they were slowed down quite a bit by Notre Dame, who wanted to slow it down, one of the slowest tempo teams in the ACC, only to Virginia. We all know the tempo that Virginia plays at. So that was disappointing. That did get down to Notre Dame's level, particularly when Notre Dame had the ball. Miami couldn't speed them up enough. But that happens at times. That's what Notre Dame wanted to do. And then Miami still stuck to their shots. And again, they were efficient on offense in terms of their scoring numbers. The turnovers a little too high, but they've been turning the ball over a little bit. Nothing real drastic. But Coach did mention assist numbers need to be up. And 16 has always been the target number for him for that. And then also you want to have less assists or less turnovers than what they had. Some overall thoughts, just wrapping this up. A good solid win, a good bounce back effort by Miami as they got in control of the game midway through the first half, stayed in control, led by at least 9 throughout the second half after it was down to 6 early on, and then it stretched to 9, double figures most of the rest of the way. So Notre Dame really never threatened. And again, Miami's defense came up big in those last 5 minutes, didn't allow Notre Dame to score. And all it took was a couple threes. If Notre Dame could have hit a couple threes to get back in it, Miami did not allow that to happen. So stuff to build on moving forward. It wasn't the best they've played all season long, but something to build on moving forward. Good that they bounced back after the loss against Kentucky. We'll see how they do moving forward against LIU. And again, I'm really excited to see how they play against Colorado coming up. Thanks for watching. Drop in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about this game. How are you feeling about this season? now that we're 7 games into it? Are you concerned, worried? We've touched on some things, Justin and I, in terms of the things, maybe some changes and concerns that we have about this team. And coach and players have mentioned it too. So it's not just us saying this, and I know you guys are as well, because the comments are coming in and the questions are coming in on the Inside the U message boards, and I also read all the comments on these videos. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the weekend, and take care.